Being on stage can be a magical place, whether it's a small or a large venue. In this video, I'll be talking about how to minimize or possibly rid the dreaded performance anxiety. Like a lot of performers, I've had the displeasure of having performance anxiety, whether it's for a show or an audition. Performance anxiety can be triggered by various things, from being underprepared, having discussions before a gig, which could lead to negative energy, being late at a gig, or just the size and the importance of the gig. Here are 9 tips that have helped me reduce this sometimes debilitating state that we can find ourselves in as performers. Tip number 1. Know the material they're going to be performing really well. Inside out, back to front. This is to avoid that loss in performance quality on stage if you do get nervous. Knowing your material really well will not only help boost your confidence, but will help you recover easier from any mistakes that you possibly can make on stage. This will also remove any doubts that you may have leading up to the gig. Tip number 2, breathe before you start your performance. Before you make your way up on stage or before you start, take some deep breaths in to settle your nervousness. What I usually do with my breathing before I start is that I inhale, count to 4, then I hold it, count to 7, and exhale, counting to 8. Just like this. By doing this breath work, this will reduce your heart rate and relax you somewhat, giving you focus on the job at hand. And if need be, do it a few times before you start. Tip number 3, meditate, or take it up if you haven't done so. Meditation has helped me immensely, not only with my performance, but with my music creation as well. What I usually do is I meditate on the day of the gig, and sometimes before I leave to go to the venue. And if possible, at the venue, I'll try and find a quiet place and do a quick meditation before I jump on stage. I found that the more I meditate in everyday life, the more focused I'm going to be on stage, and gives me the ability to actually set the anxiety aside and just do the performance. Tip number 4, and this is credit to Noah Kageyama, the creator of the Bulletproof Musician course, which I had the pleasure of doing a few years back. This technique is both practical and mental, and you do it while you're on stage, where you look into a light that's shining on the stage and you focus into it. Now, don't worry if there are no lights on stage. You can also do this by focusing on something that's in your direct line of sight. This will minimize, if not remove, the stress, and you'll gain control over your adrenaline, which can be overpowering at times. Tip number 5, and this is a popular one with artists. Envision your performance. Envision yourself performing everything exactly how you intend to. This can be very powerful as you're training your brain to the extent that you've already had the performance, and you're also telling your brain that the experience wasn't so bad after all. This can also be viewed as a rehearsal or a virtual rehearsal somewhat, where everything you performed perfectly. With this technique, you can target the areas that you're not confident with, and you can envision yourself playing them to a T perfectly with confidence. Tip number 6, and this is what I personally do when I do bigger shows, and that is I write out an affirmations list and I put it next to my set list on stage. I put things on it like, don't forget to breathe, don't rush, enjoy the moment, be grateful that you're performing and you're doing something that you love, and stay positive. What you write on your list is your choice, as long as it reminds you of your awareness and keeps you grounded, and you'll enjoy the experience even more. Tip number 7, get to the venue early and settle into the environment. We often do this to set up and do sound check, but this also gives you a chance to settle into the venue and envision your performance beforehand. It also gives you the opportunity to have a chat to the venue staff, sound guy, or even your band members, and can steer you away from that anxiety of the performance. Tip number 8, have a chat to the audience before you start. It can be an icebreaker. Make sure it's a light-hearted chat, don't get too deep, and that can often distract you from the anxiety of the performance as well. The other thing you can do is wait a few seconds before you start. That way you can get your focus and you can silence the voices in your head before you start. The first few seconds or sounds of a performance are known to be the highest peak of performance anxiety. And a few seconds of silence or addressing the audience can often counteract that fight or flight mode, hence bringing down the performance anxiety. Tip number 9, and the final tip of this video, is stay positive. Sometimes we can beat ourselves up about certain things that we perform and play, and how everything needs to be perfect and played without any mistakes. And sometimes we have external factors that are not connected to our performance that can trigger our stress and anxiety. All of this can have a negative effect on us, obviously, and the end result will be that we have a performance that we won't enjoy. Stay as positive as you can, and if need be, use the techniques in this video. Remember, a performance is all about being in the present moment, and you're not only performing for yourself, but you're performing for your audience as well. And if mistakes are made, well, it's live performance, and it's not the end of the world. Hope you've enjoyed this video and found it insightful. If so, subscribe or hit the thumbs up. Until next time, ciao.